time for me to give you an update on an investing project that I started back in April of 2020, where I opened a Roth IRA.
Will you dance, Mr. Darcy?
Not if I can help it.
Now, it was a good time to open up because the market had just taken a hit because of the pandemic. And I put money in, I put it to work. So in 20 and 21 and 22 and now the start of 23.
May I have the next dance, Miss Elizabeth?
May.
I have a Roth IRA. The max contribution annually used to be $6,000, $7,000 if you were age 55 and over. It increased in 23 by $500. So if you're under 55, you can put in $6,500 throughout the year and max it out. You pay a penalty if you put in more, or $7,500 if you're over 55.
I'm too old.
So what I've done is I've actually put to work about $21,625. That is the actual cash investment. And now as it stands, my account is worth about $24,000. Now that's through not only one of the biggest upswings in the market, but also a bear market and a downswing and a looming recession and rising interest rates and demand destruction by the Fed and their effort to curb the strong labor market. Yeah, they're trying to eliminate demand and make life more expensive and more difficult for everybody because it's good for us.
These problems have been larger and longer lasting than anticipated.
So I want to take a quick look at what I've been doing, the kind of practices that I've done. Hi, I'm James Callahan, and this is the Do-Over Show, where we learn at least the second time around how to get things right. And one of the things that I've tried later in life is to manage money better. We all need to do it, especially when we grow older and we get to the time of our life where we actually have more earnings. So the first thing I do is that I pay myself first. Before I write checks to anyone else, before I pay others for goods and services, I pay myself first. It's my money, and I started at 10, 15, 20, and as of the January of 23, I've raised it to 25%. So I get a paycheck, 25% becomes mine. 1/4 is mine. I pay myself first before paying any bills for gas, electric, phone, anything.
Up, then it's up, then it's up.
Now that means I also have to learn that I'm going to live on less, and that's one of the benefits as you grow older that you actually have as your earning increases. You actually have the ability to have a gap between what you actually have to spend to live and what you actually get in your compensation. And that difference, usually we sacrifice it by just increasing our standard of living. And that takes the discipline of, no, I'm going to pay myself first, and I'm going to, instead of just holding back and not buying that $6 latte, I'm going to actually hold back that money. And if the money's still there, I buy my $6 latte. But I've paid myself first. So that's the first big thing. Now the next thing is I've tried to be in the market because, as the old expression goes,
Forgive me, madam, for taking up so much of your time.
Time in the market beats timing the market. You know, over the last 10 years, there are only 5 or 10 days in which most of the upswings, most of the money has been made in the US markets. Now, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough, even though I spent a lot of time and effort on this. And I doubt that you are. Sorry, but we're probably not smart enough just to magically time the market so that we'll be there before those great upswings happen, those unexpected days. So what that means is I have to dollar cost average. So I take my money that's, for example, 23. You take $7,500, that's the max contribution to the Roth IRA. And that means I'll put in $625 a month. So within the first week of the month, I invest in 10 or 11 predominantly value stocks, securities. Now, the difference between value and growth. Growth is they don't pay you a dividend, but you get the upside because the cost of the price of each share is supposed to increase, supposed to grow. A value stock is something that you put your money in and they give you part of the money back in a dividend. And then I practice DRIP, dividend reinvestment program, where if I invest in, for example, Coca-Cola and they pay a quarterly dividend, instead of just getting money, it's immediately reinvested in Coca-Cola, the thing that paid me the dividend. And so these value stocks that make up the bulk of my Roth IRA. Oh, by the way, here's something that we're discovering, and that is a lot of people that create an IRA for themselves think that just putting the money in a brokerage account means that they're invested. The amazing thing is how many people put money into an IRA whether Roth or traditional, but actually never buy any securities. That is, it just sits there as a cash balance making 0.5%, 1% interest, so that they're not invested at all. They're saving. Ouch. And when you save and get 1% and inflation is 7, 8, or 9%, congratulations, you're actually losing money. Every year you just sit there uninvested. So here's the other thing is I don't add new investments. I add to the investments that I have. For example, I'm in Apple, Associated Bank Corp, B&G, it's a food packing company, Duke Energy, Iron Mountain, Coca-Cola, Altria, it's a real estate investment REIT, Pfizer, Simon Property Group, another REIT, or Ph.D, which is a market dividend yield fund, SQFT, which is Presidio, and that's been my worst performing, and then Walgreens Boots Alliance, that is, Walgreens, the drugstore chain. So out of that, Apple's a growth stock, ASB, BGS, Duke, IRM, Coca-Cola, they're all value besides that. So I'm in Apple, and I've divided it up, and each month I put money in. Now, here's the kicker. So one of my investments, let's see, IRM, Iron Mountain, I bought early, and I really haven't put a lot more money into it, and I feel bad about it, but there's something that happens, and that is when you have like Iron Mountain, I started back in April of 2020, which means that if I put more money into Iron Mountain, I actually raise my cost basis. Now, it still pays a dividend, less per share because it's at a higher price, but there's this tendency like, oh, I don't want to raise my cost basis because I want my wins. And we tend to take money and not put it in the things that are working for us. We tend to throw it at things that we wish were doing better. It's a horrible approach to investing. It's like we have a sales team and somebody is underperforming, so you decide, I'm going to give them the good leads. When our successful salespeople, who would turn those good leads into successful sales, we tend to give them things that underperform because they're able to do anything. And we tend to reward bad behavior. It's the same thing with not investing in securities that are actually performing well. Yeah, we're going to raise our cost basis, but the reason why they're performing well is because they're performing well. And we need to reward ourselves for making the right choice. And that means, yeah, maybe increasing cost basis occasionally on those investments. Now, out of all these investments, I've not added a new one in a year. Like I said, the blowout is Presidio, and I'm down 75%. But I only put in about $1,000, $1,200 into it. So yeah, I'm just going to hang on to it. I'm not adding more to it. I'm not going to double down on a loser thinking that I'm going to make it a winner. They still pay, they cut their dividend, but they still pay a dividend and it's still reinvested. So I am increasing my number of shares in Presidio, but I am not going to throw good money after bad. Instead, I'm going to continue to dollar cost average, use DRIP, and even raise the cost basis on the good investments. Now, here's the big takeaway for me, and that is I've learned that investing like this is like buying a chair. You buy a chair, you sit in the chair. The next day, if the chair is not worth as much as it was the day you bought it, you don't sell it and buy another chair. Warren Buffett said the same thing about a house. When you buy a house, you buy a house for its utility, to live in it. You don't turn around and sell it the next day if it's down 10% and the market goes down. No, you bought it for the utility, and the utility of an item is part of evaluating how much it actually costs us and the benefit that it has to us. So it's utilities. I have to have a place to live. I have to have a place to sit. And in putting our money in and investing like this is an important part of learning a new discipline, and that is being boring. Yeah, being boring is one of the hardest disciplines to learn when it comes to investing. Investing is you're putting your money to work to benefit you in the future. You don't know how long it's going to be. It may be a year, it may be 10 years, it may be longer. But investing is something that we put to work so that it can continue to work for us instead of just exchanging our time, the limited amount of time we have, in exchange for the cost of our labor. So, for example, I work a part-time job as an adjunct. I take 100% of the money I make and I invest it. I invest it so that even though I'm done teaching the course and I've put my hours into the course, the money I receive from that will continue to yield benefits for 5, 10, or 20 years. That is, I invest in myself and in my future. How about you? And thanks for being part of the Do-Over Show. Please, could you tap the like button because it really helps? And while you're down there, how about you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of the Do-Over Show. I'm so glad you found me, and I found you. Thanks.